Aloha and welcome. I am your host, Geralyn St Joseph. I am a psychic intuitive, and today we're going to be talking about the energy. Today is 12/12/24, so it's December 12th, 2024. Don't let that stop you if you're not seeing this on the 12th. I'm sure there'll be stuff here that you will find helpful. At least I hope so. That's what I try to do for people. I am going to be talking about today's energy. Today is a portal day. There's a lot going on astrologically. I will leave that to others to discuss in um, like giving specifics as to what's happening. I know that we are towards the end of a Mercury retrograde. I know there's a lot of planets that are in alignment. I know that we're in um, a solar not a solar storm, but the sun is at her maximum or his maximum, however you wanna say it, and those are things that affect us, even if you think they don't. So, just be aware that all the excess energy coming into the earth, the different polarities that are happening, the different things that pull on um, our magnetic center, things that are changing this human resonance, the pole wobble that we have, which is a little more severe than usual, may not be a wobble, might be a pole shift for all we know. All these things do affect us, even though it seems really far out there and far fetched. But the more we succumb and are completely surrounded by all this electric and electronic noise, it is interfering with our own energetic and our own electric natures. Why do I say that? Well, I feel this is my theory. I am an educated person, but I am not a scholar by any means, and I do not have a background in um, any kind of health field or anything like that. However, by observation and what I feel and what I've seen, I'm old. I'm over 50. I'm closer to 60. And what I've been seeing through the years is that we went from a fairly stable society to a society where the majority of people now suffer from things like anxiety. I see anxiety as having a lot to do with all the radiation, EMF that's in the air. It affects us. I say this because when I've been in situations or I've been in places where there's not as much, like you're up in the mountains, you're not in a city, there's no cell phone towers near you, and that kind of thing, people seem to be very much calmer. I have tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to say it, where I hear things in my ears all the time. I constantly hear like a whine. And when I was younger, I didn't hear as much and it wasn't as loud. And you might say, well, it's because you were younger. However, I had the great pleasure of being on the island of Oahu one Christmas, and we were at the temple, and the entire island went dark, the entire island. So there were 3 power plants, every single one of them supposedly got struck by lightning, and they all went down, so everything went dark. It was so wonderful. It was so peaceful. It was so quiet. Now, I still could hear a little bit, but definitely the sounds in my ears went down quite quite a lot. And I notice that before my phone rings or at different points in time, like, it'll get louder. I also can feel that. I don't know if most people are here's a good question for the chat. Let me know in the chat if you are someone who has, um, that you can feel like when the phone's gonna ring, like if you're holding the phone or if it's somewhere on your person or even close to you, can you feel it before it rings? Like you feel like to me, if I'm holding my phone and somebody is calling, it hurts. Like it actually feels like I don't know if I wanna say an electric shock, but it hurts, it stings, and I can feel, like, the pulsation of the call coming in. So, I feel like the more aware we are of our physical bodies, our mental and emotional bodies, that the more we understand how these things affect us, and thus the uh, energy report for today. Today is a portal, 12/12/24. And it's a lot about, like, opening up your heart and coming into forgiveness. It's also about raising yourself up into your divinity and finding that peace within yourself that is that divine spark that gives you consciousness. Some of us have a relationship with that all the time where we're constantly tweaking things. But most people, I would say, do not have that. You're busy making a living. You're busy running around trying to make ends meet, taking care of kids, working a regular job, going through traffic. There's a lot to our lives. There's always been a lot, but it seems like there's so much more taking our attention and our consciousness away from ourselves now more than ever before. The most important thing for you to do right now is to center yourself, get back in your body, and feel your body, feel your surroundings, be aware of what is around you. Be aware of that the difference between you and outside energies that might be invading your space. It's a very difficult time for a lot of empaths, but I feel like it's a difficult time for everyone. I mean, the world is at war right now. It's not completely blown up yet, and hopefully it won't. Hopefully, as we move into the new year and we move into the spring, I feel like there's a renewal in the spring and towards the spring. March, April, May. I feel like as the sun resumes her place as having more sunlight than darkness, I feel like that really lifts up a lot of people and it lifts up and makes us realize what's really important. And what is that? What's really important is life. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. It's time to really look at ourselves and how we are interacting with everything around us and knowing what part we play and knowing what space we're in. So, one of the things that you might consider is to start writing a journal if you don't already. And when you're writing the journal, like I know everybody talks about gratitude. Gratitude is a very high vibe, and it is something that we should work on all the time because it helps us as we move forward. But by the same token, another thing that a journal can do is when we feel like we haven't made any progress, when we feel like we have nothing to offer, that we've never helped anybody, we've never done anything. When we have a journal talking about the way we're feeling and how the day went and what we accomplished that day, maybe lives we affected or things people said to us or things we said to them, it gives us something solid that we can look at that affirms our lives. And it helps us to see how far we've come and what else we've accomplished since we started writing. Because oftentimes, hi, Arpita. I told you I was going to try to do 11 p.m. for you. um, One of the things Um, hold on. I'm gonna do not disturb because, of course, as soon as I get on, I get phone calls, but that's okay. I'm not gonna let it, get in the way of what we're doing here. Um, so being more mindful of who you are and how you affect the world around you. And I think that's something that a lot of us really don't think about a lot of times, that we look at things and we feel like, "Well, I'm just one person." But the truth of the matter is we're all just one person. Donald Trump's just one person. Uh, Putin's just one person. Taylor Swift is just one person. All these people, they're just one person, but look at everything they've done, and you don't have to be that big in order to really make a difference with the people around you. You're fine being who you are. That's who you came here to be. And it doesn't mean you can't get better and you can't strive for things. You are supposed to get better and you are supposed to strive for things. But the thing is, don't discount yourself because you're not Elon Musk. There's only one of him, and there's only supposed to be one of him. But maybe you smiling at an elderly person as they're coming out of the store and you're going in and you almost knock each other over, and instead of getting angry, maybe smiling at them and being like, "Oh, excuse me. Oh, you look beautiful today. I hope you have a good day." Like, it's spreading that joy. Sometimes it literally can mean the difference between life and death, where people will when you're interacting with someone, you have no idea what they're going through or how they're feeling or anything like that. Put out love, put out kindness, open your heart, be a good person. And yes, sometimes we're not treated the way we want to be treated, but the golden rule is not treat others the way they treat you. It's treat others the way you want to be treated. So when you're 80, 90 years old and you're walking with a walker and you're just barely making it, but you're still independent, do you want somebody to come knock you over or growl at you because you're slower than you used to be? Or do you want someone to smile and give you a kind word? I think we all know the answer to that. It's so much better to smile and give a kind word. And right now, we're in a position where we are setting our energy for the coming calendar year. We are setting our energy for the future. This is a portal where we can really utilize the energy that's here because there's so much excessive energy. And even though that energy may make you feel overwhelmed, if you ground yourself, if you get near green, plants, animals, especially trees, anything like that, even if you could only look at it out your window, connect with life and with Mother Earth, and that will help you to diffuse a lot of the excessive energy, and it will help you to release yourself from anxiety. Do you know that anxiety and excitement basically are the same physical sensation? Whether you're excited or you're anxious, your body reacts the same way. So your mind is what tells you, "Ooh, this is bad or this is good. Oh, I'm afraid or I'm excited." That's why to be anxious originally, I don't even know if it's originally, but when I was a kid and you would say you were anxious to see somebody, you were excited to see them. Now anxiety is all about fear. We use anxiety and being anxious to always talk about being fearful. It can be expectant, it doesn't have to be fearful. So just remember that as you move forward. So, just a warning, my cats are crazy today. Well, most days. And I've been getting poked. So if I suddenly jump up, it's probably one of the cats. Don't get excited. There's not a whole lot of meaning behind it. Okay, so I'm going to pull a couple cards just to see what Spirit says is most important for us right now. Okay. And I did want to announce two things. One is that I just joined Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, and you'll find my link in the description below. So I'm on there if you'd like to buy me a cup of coffee. That'd be great. Also, people who do super chats and such will pop up more in the chat. So then I will see you, and then we could talk a little bit. All right. So the first deck I'm going with is my Rider-Waite Tarot. And the reason why I'm using the Rider-Waite is because it's humongous. And it's easy for you to see. So it just makes it easier. And for some reason today, I wasn't really feeling drawn to a lot of my other decks. So Spirit was saying to go with this one. And then I do have a couple of smaller decks that I will be using. But this is where we're starting. We're starting with the Tarot. Yeah, I love these cards too. They're so huge because you could see them. And I think it's important when we're looking at and we're reading, we're using these as a guide to be able to see everything that's in them. I use these when I teach. I teach the Soul of Tarot, and I will be starting a new class soon. And I have to try and get this high enough so you guys can see it. So as I'm talking about the, there we go. There we go. Now, hopefully the cat is not going to knock it down, but we shall see. I have to give myself enough room. My desk has very little space right now because I'm a very indulgent mommy. I have 2 cats. I have my little black cat is right there. Her name's Gabby. Say hi, Gabby. You can just see her. Hi, Gabby. Hi, baby. So, and that box was originally my Pikachu's, and Pika is my... That was not a good idea. Pika is my main girl, and she was here first. Gabby's a kitten, believe it or not. So Pika got very insulted that I let the other cat sit there. So I also have a box on this side of me. So I have boxes on both sides of me for my cats to sit in because, you know, cats. All right, let's see how badly I move this. Okay, I'm going to get that more centered. Yeah, it is funny. I'm a very indulgent cat mama. I think my son would tell you I was a pretty indulgent mom too, even though I was strict. Because he never really asked for much. So when he asked for something, I did my best to make sure he got it. Okay. All right, Spirit. What is it that you most need us to know right now? What is most important for us to know? Okay. All right. So, now I guess this way. I don't know. I just need to chill and stop looking at the camera. I have a degree in film. It's a problem because when I start doing these kind of things, I'm looking at things that most people don't care about. So I'm sorry. Okay, so the first card is the 8 of Cups. And as I was saying, right now is a very, there's a lot of energy. So we could call it tumultuous if we want to, but I'd rather say that there's just a lot of energy around us that needs to be utilized in some way. It's kind of like the cats. If you don't play with them, they get crazy. People are the same way. If there's too much energy and there's no way to expend it, then they get crazy. So this card, the 8 of Cups, 8 is a number of learning. It's a number of um, being in a position of like, you're in the right place at the right time. That's the way to say it. You're in the right place at the right time. So, with that, we also have that, we see this the guy there. The gentleman there he's has his back to the cups. The cups are all upright. I can't tell whether they're overly full or not, but they might be full, but he seems like he is walking away, and you could see that as one of 2 things. You can imagine that he's walking away in anger, he's disgusted, he wants nothing to do with it. "That is not mine, I'm not going that way, I'm leaving it be." It could be walking away also when we look at what's happening right now, that he's walking away from overindulgence, walking away from, overreacting. And he is moving forward, and you see that he's got his little staff, which is indicative of wands, and wands are always about opportunity. So he's moving away from things that no longer serve him, and he's moving towards different opportunities. Now, when you look at it, you might be looking at the rocks, the cliffs ahead of him. Is he moving towards something that's easier? Probably not, but it's something that he feels is worth doing. So 8 of Cups, and what we're getting from that is that we need to leave behind the things that are not serving us. We need to walk away from things that disturb our peace and things that pull us away from who we are and what we're meant to do here. So we're turning our back on the things that don't serve us any longer. Now, I find it interesting that the second card is a cups also. This is King of Cups. So cups are about emotion. Cups are about um, feeling the feels and recognizing how you feel. So when we're looking at the 8 of Cups, he might have like put it behind him, or he might be suppressing his emotion too. See and feel what comes for you. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're suppressing things? Are you leaving things in the past? Are you doing that in a healthy way or an unhealthy way? That's the question to ask. Then we move into the King of Cups. And the King of Cups, cool as a cucumber. And if you look at the sea around him, it is very tumultuous. There's there's a whale jumping out of the ocean. There's a ship getting tossed around behind him, and it's red. Again, we have the red theme of, anger or baseness. So, what the King of Cups is telling you is that so we need to recognize what's no longer serving us and move away from it, and the King of Cups is to you wanna stay in your peace. You wanna find your center, and you want to stay there regardless of what is happening around you. I need to get something. Ooh. This is for a cell phone, so it's not very, very wide. So, and the King of Cups is just like in a regular deck, the king does not have a number, but we have an 8, and then very interesting, we have a 4, and that is the Emperor, and that is a major arcana card. So, what the Emperor is telling us, again, if you notice, their thrones are similar in that they are both solid, stark. There's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of like, intricacy to them. They're very stark, and they're strong, and they're gray, and gray is about power. So, basically, what spirit is telling us is it's time to really take an assessment of what's ours and what's not ours. What is still serving us and what is not? And especially emotionally, are we hanging on to old tropes? Are we hanging on to old things and things that are making us question or things that have us a little out of sorts? Or is it that we're overreacting? Like, are we looking too much at things that don't serve us anymore? I mean, that is the most important thing, is do not hold on to that which no longer serves. What does that mean? So if you were angry at somebody over some slight, real or perceived, years ago, are you still thinking about that? Is that still coming up in your head? Is that something that you're still feeding? Or is that something you need to let go? And when you forgive and you let go of things, it's not about saying, "Oh, well, that's okay, and I'm gonna forget about it now and never remember that you did that to me or that this happened." Forgiveness is letting go of all hopes of a better past. It was what it was. It's gone now, and now you need to let go of that and move forward. Or maybe it's time to reconnect and figure out if you've changed or they've changed. And people can change. I can say that honestly because I'm around someone who in their youth they were a mess. But now, as they got older, they chose to take the time and work on themselves and look at where they did things wrong. Take responsibility and accountability for that and change things where they could. And they've become a much more responsible, a much more generous person. So people can change, but it's their choice. Some people do and some people don't. But the only way you're going to know whether they did or not is if you give them the opportunity to show you. So that doesn't mean bearing your chest and saying, oh, get me again. No, but it is about being open to see where they are and what they've become. Okay. So as we're feeling all this overwhelm, we want to ground that energy. We want to start viewing things instead of fear-based as excitement-based, looking forward to something good is gonna happen, and we wanna move forward in that way. Now oh, I said I had 2 things I wanted to let you guys know. The one was the, cup of coffee one. The second is that I believe it's January 17th and 18th, it's a Friday and a Saturday in Elkton, Maryland. I will be there with my son and my friend, and we're gonna have a booth. I'm gonna be giving some kind of a talk, and I'll also be doing readings in person there. So if anybody's in the area, please come and check us out. It's a lot of fun. I did it last year, and last year I did a lot more talks. I don't think I'm gonna do that much this year. But if you have um any subjects that you think would be good, because I haven't selected my talk topic yet, that you think other people would be interested in, please let me know. Put it in the chat or put it in the comments below if you're watching this after the fact. Okay. All right. Now, what would you guys like to do? Do you want me to answer some of your questions? Would you prefer that um, I do another general reading, but using a different deck? I do have my deck with me, which is the Oracle. Can you take a guess at how old this deck is? I've been using the same deck for my professional readings since 1995. That's when I bought this in 1995. You see all the tape. And this is the Oracle of the Triad. And the reason why I've had the same deck all this time is because they probably took it off the market when I bought it in 1995. So this thing has literally been through a tornado where some of my cards got swept off of where I was working and into this lake. This is one of them. You can see the water damage on it. And they have traveled back and forth and all over the country. So they've traveled across the entire United States at least 3 or 4 times, and they lived in Hawaii for a while. They're very, uh, very, very well traveled deck. So this is an unusual deck. I have met, I think, 1 or 2 other people who read it professionally, um, recently, but, you'll find that it's very a very unusual deck. So, we're gonna ask, what is it that we most need to know? And remember, if you have specific questions you wanna ask, put it in the chat, especially if you do a super chat or whatever, then I will make sure that I get to it. If not, I will try to get to it. All right? Okay. Okay, Spirit. What is it that we most need to know? Hmm. All right. So the first thing that comes up is right now we're going through a period of time where we're really trying to dig in. We're really trying to make our mark, and we are trying to set a standard. We want to be we want to be connected with our families and our groups right now, but we also want to spread out from there. So Spirit is saying to get to a place where you can see that your ideals are within reach. In order to do that, we need to know what our ideals are. So, just like in the first reading, we were told we needed to parse through our wants and our needs and look at what energies are no longer serving us, what energies um, are coming in, and how can we utilize all this excessive energy that we have right now. Spirit is saying that it's very important for us to like hone in on what it is, like who it is we are, what kind of energy we want to bring to the world. Okay, so oh, these don't look very fun. So these are French. I don't speak French. So if I try to say it, I may just totally obliterate the word. I think this says foudre. I obviously have like not the right accent for this. But anyway, so what this is chaos. It's also, again, about, like, really digging in, figuring out where we came from, where we're going. Chaos oftentimes is what happens right before big major changes are made and huge events come. So, chaos is not always a bad thing. It's not comfortable for a lot of people. Some people love chaos, most people not particularly. So, it's telling us to be prepared for this, but also to know that we can depend on our roots to hold us steady. Everybody's favorite card, Nadir. Now, the Nadir is the darkest point. It is a sense of failure, but it's also the void. So, the way I like to look at Nadir, especially after the chaos, is that it's a new beginning. When we look at the void and the void looks back, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like everybody looks at the void as like, oh, it's just emptiness. But the void is also infinite potential. We all came out of the void. Like that's where creation happens, is in the void. So spirit is saying even though it may feel like a failure or falling backwards, what we need to look for, you see there's that one point of light, look for where you want to go. Look for where you want to be. Look for a way to get there because it'll draw you to it. What you focus on is what you give energy to. And I'm sure everybody's heard this a million times, but it's good to be reminded. Third card, sacrifice. That's an easy one because that's just sacrifice. So, the card of sacrifice, what a lot of people forget is that sacrifice is about giving up something small to get something of much greater value. Listen again. You are giving up something, but you're giving up something to get something better and bigger in return. So, yes, it is a sacrifice to give up, I don't know, your day job, to give up a big salary, and then to move into maybe having your own business. That's a sacrifice, but you're doing it to get something of much better value. So maybe you're giving up some pay in order to have more time with your family, to be healthier. Maybe you're looking at a work life balance and trying to make that where it actually is balanced or more balanced. And yes, there are things you need to give up in order to do that oftentimes because it's about priorities and what weighs more, what brings more to your life. So this card is telling us that even though we're looking at giving things up and moving forward into new things, and it seems so tumultuous and things seem so terrible and it's like, oh, the sky is falling right now. We need to remember that at those times is when there is the greatest potential for positive change. But that's what we have to focus on. That's where we have to put our energy. Instead of focusing on the negatives, I don't want this and I don't want this and I don't want this, focus on what you do want. Okay, I want to be healthier. Well, maybe you have to sacrifice sleeping an extra half hour in the morning and get off your butt and go exercise. And yeah, it's a sacrifice, but you have more energy, you feel better, it just exercise does so much for your body and your spirit that it's so worth it. So these are the things that we're being called to do right now. We're being called to, like Arpita said, it's looking at things from a new perspective. It's allowing ourselves to see things as spirit sees things instead of staying in our very limited view. We are trying to, oh, that's interesting. Sacrifice, I thought, giving up something that you like to make other one happy. Yes, that is part of sacrifice, but so there are things you have to ask about that. So that's interesting because when you think about that, when you think about like people that you love, so it's different with a child. So with a child, you're giving up going clubbing every night in order to raise this child that you love dearly, and it's a different kind of excitement. But when you're talking about a partner, what are you giving up that you like for that partner? Is it are you getting something of much better value? Is their happiness so important or so dependent upon you giving something up? So that depends. Like, are you talking about you really like to snuggle and they really can't sleep if you snuggle? Like, are you giving up something like that? Are you giving up making, uh, ham and cabbage, which has a very interesting smell that lingers for days, in order to make that person happy? But you'll go to your mom's and get it or somewhere else, you know? But if you're doing something to make someone else happy, it depends on what you're giving up. So you don't want to give up too much of who you really are because there are always ways to figure things out. Like I can understand like giving up, like going clubbing too much or drinking too much, like things that aren't healthy for you anyway. Because if you love someone and they love you, the thing is about making each other happy and creating a healthy relationship where that can happen. So, I would just be very careful if somebody's asking me or stating to me, "Well, if you would love me, you would." That's always a red flag. Always a red flag unless they're asking you to do something that is healthy for you. If you really truly loved me and our kids, you would quit smoking. Okay, that's okay. they can ask you to do that. Um, if they're asking you to give something up or you're thinking about giving something up that really truly isn't good for you, then that is a loving relationship. But if they're just asking you to give up something that you really love, like maybe they're asking you to give up seeing your parents once a week, like that's not a good ask. That's not a good ask unless their parents are very abusive towards them, or something like that. So we could talk a whole hour about that because when we talk about relationships, especially familial relationships, I feel like it's really important to set healthy boundaries for yourself and for the people around you, as well as, there's got to be a give and take. So often, especially, I mean, I know a lot of men do this too, but I just want to say, as women, we're raised a lot of times to give of ourselves, and like that's what we're bringing to the table is we just give everything over to the other person and we allow them to make decisions for us and do things, but sometimes it's done in such a way that they incrementally take your entire life. They take everything um, that is you, and that is not a loving relationship. That it becomes abusive at some point. It's all right to be in a relationship that's mutually supportive where you each have your roles, and maybe, I mean, in a male female relationship, typically the male is supposed to be the head of the family or the leader. The energetic is different than the female. Doesn't mean that the female gets neglected or doesn't get her needs met or anything like that. When it's a healthy relationship, you have the divine female and the divine male. And that's what today is about too, is about bringing up those two energies. There is a divine male just as much as there's a divine female, even though I've heard a lot of arguing back and forth about that lately. I don't know why. There's this whole thing against men, but it's true, and it's about balance. Just like we all have male and female, we have masculine and feminine energies within one body, and they balance. And it might be a 60-40 balance, it might be a 70-30 balance, it might be a 50-50 balance. Each person is different, but all of us have those two energetics within us that then that create who we are. So, that's where that is. So remember, if you have questions, put them in the chat. And I'm also looking for a subject to do a talk on when I do a live festival in January. Mm. This is my water bottle. One of my mentees bought it for me, and she's amazing. And she does a lot with the feminine energetic. Her name is Solomar. So, and she gave this to me as a gift when we were working together. And as you see, it is pink quartz or rose quartz. The crystal, well, this is rose quartz. So the rose quartz is for calming. Rose quartz, and I'm not a doctor or anything, so this is not FDA approved, but rose quartz can help lower blood pressure and things like that. When you put different crystals in water or in a liquid, and as you can see with this, these are chips and they're within a container. So it's like a container within a container. Because you can't make elixirs with every type of crystal. Some crystals are actually poisonous. So, like one of my favorites is malachite. Malachite is like this deep green, and it's all these different shades of green. It's really pretty. But the dust from malachite is toxic. It's a poison. So you don't want to break it. And if it breaks, you don't want to touch it with your fingers. Wash your fingers right away if that should happen. But you don't put it in a an elixir directly into the water, but you could use something like this where it's encapsulated. This is like no water gets into that bottom part. As you can see, like it's completely sealed. So something like that you could do so that the energy from the crystal can infuse the water. I have another one of these. I'm making a mess over here. I have another one that my friend Jen O'Neill, Psychic Jen in Hawaii. She's one of my best buddies. She gave me the other one, which I will use another time. But that has an actual crystal in the center, and it's an actual full crystal, and it's exposed. So certain crystals you can do that. That crystal is a clear quartz crystal. So that does not have any properties that I'm aware of that would be considered dangerous. So so you look to see like what is it that you want. It's just like when you're doing when you're working with crystals. Uh, for instance, I love talking about crystals. They're my favorite. So this is one of my favorites. This is carnelian. Carnelian is a type of agate, and you could see that it goes from like that yellow into almost like a black, a really dark orange brown. So, and what that does, thank you. It is my favorite. Um, what carnelian does is carnelian helps to calm you down. It helps you to focus. So it's really good if you suffer from ADHD or anything like that. You have carnelian, bless it. It's got to be blessed and programmed, and they have to be cleansed regularly, especially if they're taking in a lot of your energy. And you can utilize this to help you to focus and help you calm. The other thing with carnelian, which is very good, is that it very gently helps you go through the grieving process. So it helps you to process your grief. It doesn't make it go away. It doesn't suppress it. It helps you to gently move through it. So it helps you to recognize the changes that need to be made, and it helps you deal with the memories and just deal with that loss, whatever the loss may be. Carnelian's an excellent stone for that. So if you wanted carnelian in your water, it's an agate. I don't believe it has any properties that are toxic, but I would double check that. And if you wanted to make an elixir with it, there's all different kinds of gemstone elixirs you can make, but they say to put it in water. So you want to wash it first, of course. You put it in water and you put the water out under the full moon in the moonlight. So you put it on your windowsill. I'm like, shelf. I'm like, no, windowsill. It's got to get the rays from the sun and the moon into it in order to really charge it up and help to so that the water takes on the properties of that stone. And then you drink it, and then it helps you to imbibe and put it into your person, the different things. Okay. Are there online stores with ethically sourced and reasonably priced crystals? I have knowledge of these topics, but I do happen to have ADHD, open to alternative medicine and spirituality. Oh, cool. Um, I don't know. I would have to do some research on that. I would just be careful. I know I have to find her channel. There is a girl who goes through and she purchases crystals from different places, and she tells you how to tell whether they sold you if something is real or not. So ethically sourced, I think most crystals are fairly easy to come by unless you're talking about things like lapis lazuli, which is in Afghanistan, and I think it's Peru. But those are rarer crystals, whereas like an agate is fairly common and they're easier to get. So I hope that's helpful. I would say I'm not sure where you're coming in from, but there are crystal conventions and gem shows. I would go to the ones that there are certain, shows that are mineralogists and stuff and geologists, so they're going and they're talking about not the metaphysical properties, but the other properties of the stones and whatnot, but they will know where to get the stones ethically. They'll know where they're mined from and all that kinda stuff. So, just so you're aware. I think going to other gem shows where they have the wholesalers and getting to meet the people, that's good also. I know when I was up in Maine, there was a gentleman who used to go to the mines himself and go through the stuff that they were just, like, tossing, and he would find really beautiful pieces, and he would sell those. So you knew exactly where it was coming from, and that was tourmaline, because tourmaline there's a lot of tourmaline in Maine. So, that's what I would say. Another good stone, this is called the golden healer. Look at that. Look at the isn't that beautiful? So, some people might mistake this for citrine because 'cause it's got the gold in it, but this is different from citrine in that these veins citrine doesn't have veins like that. So, even though it is part of the family of quartz, it's not the same as, um, citrine. Let me see if I have a citrine over here. I usually do. Is this one of my no. It figures I just moved all my stones. But so anyway, so golden healer, thank you, is really excellent, obviously, for healing. So doing an elixir with a golden healer would probably be very helpful for most people. I mean, and the worst that you get is water, you know? If you don't believe that the energies are going into it, it's water. So it's not that bad. I probably have a or I don't. Maybe I don't. Well, I was talking about, lapis lazuli, like, that's a beautiful piece of lapis, and this is naturally that color, that deep blue. This is a really high quality piece. You could see a little bit of the gray going through. You can see the, pyrite that's in there, the gold specks, and this is from Afghanistan, that piece. And then you have other pieces that are not as high quality that are, they're called denim lapis. Now, so far as what they can do energetically and the energetics of it, it's the same. It doesn't matter whether you have a real high quality piece or you have more like denim lapis is closer to like this, but it has this is a pretty good piece still, but it's got more of the gray, but you still have that dark blue and you have the gold. So the denim lapis is a lot cheaper. That's what they used to throw away. They used to just throw it away. Can you imagine? So this is a piece of citrine. You see, it doesn't have the layers that even though the citrine is just formed towards the bottom of this particular piece, it's a different and it feels different. So citrine itself is a very high vibration stone. It is called the merchant stone, and they say it pulls in positivity and pulls in abundance. So, citrine will help knock out any negativity that is within a 6-foot radius of you if you're holding on to it or you're wearing it. And if you put it in your till, if you're a business person or you stick it in your wallet, it's supposed to ensure that you never have less and that money is always coming in. So, Citrine is also a really good stone in feng shui. You can put citrine in, I think it's if you go to the front door, it's the back leftmost area of the house, whatever that is. You put a piece of citrine there, and it's supposed to pull in abundance. So, citrine is a good stone. It's one of my favorites. I'm a Leo, so I go for a lot of golds, a lot of oranges. But I love, let's say, all stones. I don't think I've ever met a stone I don't like. I also have, um, what else do I have here that I wanted to show you? This is one of my favorites too, and it's called rutilated quartz. I don't know if you could see the hairs. It looks like hair in there. Wait a second. I don't know if you could see it. This is supposed to be, see it glistening like hairs? So that's rutile. So there's golden rutile, there's red rutile, and I believe there's black, but I think black is actually tourmaline. So rutilated quartz, and there's rutilated amethyst. I have a piece of that. There's, I believe you could find rutile in different types of quartz from what I've seen over the years. But rutile is also very high vibration, very, very protective. And the mythology behind the rutile is that when God was making the earth, that as he solidified everything, he said, all right, going to solidify everything, guys. And not all the angels got fully away in time. And they're actually pieces of angels' wings, which is what makes it such high vibration. Yeah, I could do that, Arpita. Okay. Do you know which deck you want me to use? Do you want the triad or you want the regular tarot? Triad or regular tarot? It's up to you. The huge one, the tarot. Okay. So, and the other thing, I just pulled this, which is from the moon, the lunar oracle cards. So, and you got the cat, and the cat is saying that you need to make time to focus on your own spiritual well being and connect to the metaphysical world around you. So, Spirit is saying that it's time to really focus on yourself. And that is not being selfish, that is being responsible and doing as Spirit tells you to. So, that's the first part. All right, let's see. What is for Arpita's highest good? Woo! All right, give me a third. All right, there we go. I don't know, Arpita. 10 of Swords. So, swords are about things that are logical. Swords are about air. It's about stress and things that you worry about. So if we look at this picture, you look and you go, "Oh my goodness, this person just got stabbed in the back." That's what's happening there. But there's more than that happening there. If you really look at it, I'm trying to get it so it's not reflected on there too much. If you look at it, so when I'm teaching tarot, the first thing I tell people is that, do the swords have a point? No. There's no point to, not one of those shows a point. So when we don't have a point to our stress, it pulls us down. So Spirit is saying to be more mindful about where you're putting your energy and what you're focusing on, because you might be focusing on things that are pulling you down instead of focusing on the things that are gonna help you move forward. Also, if you look at this, you see that even though the sky is black, there is like the sun is coming out, like it's yellow below those dark clouds. So there is some hope. The gentleman who's there is also, if you look at his hands, he's giving a sign of blessing. I think it's this. So it's telling you to recognize and really look for the positive things that are happening instead of focusing on the negative. You need to look past whatever it is that's making you worry and look to see what is it trying to direct you towards. Where is the blessing in the situation? That's what that card is telling you. And then next card that popped out was the Ace of Pentacles. That is a beautiful card. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Um, and just so you guys know, I do teach the Soul of Tarot, where by the time we're done, all the lessons, you could pick up just about any deck and just read it because it's about really heightening your intuition. And we talk about all the different symbols and stuff in the cards. I do use this deck to teach with. All right. So the first thing was hello. Um, the first thing was the 10 of swords. Now we're at the Ace of Pentacles. So it's almost like bookends. So when you have a 10, like a 9 is usually like tying everything together. And then a 10 is could be a new start, but it's your impact on the world, which we've been talking about a lot. So we're talking about your impact in the world and focusing, being careful about where you're putting your energy and what you're focusing on. Then we go into the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles is like having the world in your hands. It's about a new beginning. It's about um, becoming more prosperous. It's about really um, looking up and focusing on the things that are there to help you move forward as opposed to the things that hold you back. And if we look at that card and you see pentacles are money for the most part, or they're physical things, we look at the cloud that the hand is coming out of, and it seems it's um, pretty basic. It's basically white or very pale colored. There we don't see any storm clouds or anything running around. And we see also this archway that leads to the mountains. So you could see that it's either did you just enter this garden? Did you just go through hardship and you just entered this garden? It's a time for rest. And now is the time where you're going to reap what you sow. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking towards. And they're saying to remember your innocence. Like remember the things that really drove you from when you were young. Okay? Have faith in the ideas that spirit has inspired in you over time. Like try to remember those things and look to see what it is that is pulling you forward. What is calling you forward and moving you upward and onward? Okay. So going from that, this one to this was pretty nice. And you see the yellow and then the yellow. So again, new beginnings. So and then here's the last card. And this I feel rather than a culmination, this is a piece of advice. So we had swords, which is stress, that's the mind. We had pentacles, which is earth. And now we have cups, which is water, which is so we have the mind, the physical, and now we have the emotional and the spiritual. So we have the 4 of cups. And if you look at this person, they're kind of like sitting there like, now you could look at him as, maybe he's meditating or something, but his arms are red. So I think he's kind of like frustrated with what's there in front of him. and he's not seeing what is being offered. So again, spirit is telling you, watch where your attention is flowing. Be grateful for what you have, but also be open to what is coming. Be open to your possibilities, to the different things that are happening for you. Okay? Spirit is saying that, especially I feel like because you got 3 of the 4 elements and we only did 3 cards, Spirit is telling you that it's about integrating everything and moving forward in that way, and recognizing that one affects the other. So, I also get a feeling that I don't know whether you've been sick or you're just feeling a little run down. Spirit is saying that they want you to really start paying more attention to your physical self. I mean, they are telling you to pay attention to how everything weaves together. But I get a feeling that, when you're in pain, like in physical pain, it really pulls you down, and spirit is saying that a part of what's happening there is you're focusing on the pain and what you can't do instead of looking to see, "Okay, what is this doing for me?" Okay, um, it's about changing the self-talk, like, really going in and arguing with yourself, I think is the best way to say it. When you hear yourself being negative, "Oh, I can't do this," or, "Oh, I'm stupid," or, "This terrible thing is gonna happen," you need to argue with yourself in your own mind because a lot of what's happening there is not really coming from you, it's not coming from your soul or from your guidance, it's coming from outside sources, it's coming from wounds, it's coming from, the negativity that's around you, but it's not yours. So, again, it's about releasing it, about really letting it go. So, become more familiar with spirit's voice, become more familiar with your own voice so that you can pick and choose, and then when something is said or something happens that is not really you. So one of the things, that can help you with that is if you're listening to, um even the way things are said, sometimes we hear it'll be your mom, yelling at you from when you were little. What I heard from others about myself, and it's so loud. Yes, exactly. It'll be a blast from the past, some kind of something that somebody else said to you. And yes, it is loud because a lot of times, especially if these are like beaten into us as kids, then it's really hard to like pull it out and ignore it as adults. I have a book on Amazon. It's called Completing the Circle: Path to Self-Empowerment. And that's the way I moved through these different steps to cultivate having an undercurrent of joy instead of being anxious and afraid and feeling guilty all the time. I was raised Catholic and Italian and Irish, so a lot of guilt there. Um, I would highly recommend to pick that up and do the exercises in there. It's not very expensive. I think it's like $3.33 to get it on. It's digital. So, but I think that would help a great deal. The other thing you may want to do is to journaling is good. That's one of the things I recommend in there also. But if we were talking about gemstones earlier, and gemstones that might be helpful would be things like um, carnelian. Yes. Like, when your mom's yelling at you and that kinda thing, like, and you hear that in your head, or maybe she still does it. I don't know, my mom says, like, weird stuff still. And you just have to know where to place it and not to take it into your energy field. And the way to do that is you need to build up your boundaries, but you also have to dig it out from within you because when it's, deep inside your psyche and in your subconscious, it'll poke its ugly head up and you need to learn how to just simply dismiss it. And it's a habit you have to get into. Instead of listening to it and giving it any of your time or energy, it's just about dismissing it. I'm gonna need to change my glasses because these are killing my nose. Let's see. What other glasses do I have? I have so many glasses. Ooh, much better. Okay, so that's what I would say. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Or Arpita, is there anything else that you would like to know? Okay. So if you're gonna work on that, I would say you wanna pick, if you can, I mean, if you have an affinity for crystals, you wanna pick a crystal that really calls to you and helps you stay focused, but also helps you to remain, um remain in your body so you really work with it. And next time I'm on, or if you wanna email me, then we could talk about the different crystals that are good for that. Okay, somebody, what is your question? And yes, it's okay for you to have a question. You're welcome, Arpita. Yeah, definitely. You need to find what crystals really call to you. Like, because a crystal works really well for me, doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna really vibe with it necessarily. Now, generally for doing that kind of work, carnelian is my number one go-to, or something um, like a smoky quartz, carbon quartz, or hematite. And hematite's really good for that too. So that's hematite, looks like a metal. Oh, your screen froze. I was wondering if KC. Okay. Well, let's look at that. Yes, hematite is excellent for balance. Yes. It's good for grounding. It's a decent protection stone. But balance, yes. All right. This KC has a spiritual perfect for being part of my life in an indirect way. Okay. So the short answer is I feel like yes. And let's see. Oh, okay. So you got an Ace of Wands. So basically, that's talking about somebody who can be inspiring or show you a different way of doing things, something to shoot for, or something that is going to move you forward in some way. So I feel like Spirit is saying that yes, um, the spiritual purpose for being a part of your life is that there's somebody that you can look at, and then you make decisions about moving forward and different things that you're going to do. They're going to show you, and I'm not sure that I feel like it's a very interesting connection, because I feel like there's a sense of really knowing this person, but this person may not know you as well or may not know you. I'm not sure specifically, but it feels like, um, they can really inspire you to do different things and to move forward. Second card you got was death. So, a lot of people fear the Grim Reaper, but you really don't need to. So, just like Ace of Wands is a new beginning, death is talking about closing the door on something and walking into something new. So, death is not about the absolute end of something. The death is about pivoting to do something different. And I feel like that goes well with the first in saying that it's showing you how to move forward, but it's also telling you that there are things that you're going to have to leave behind and things that you really need to pick and choose your battles and pick and choose which way you're going to move forward, what you want to do with that. So, and that's a 13. And a 13 is about finding your own divinity, but also finding your inspiration. To be inspired means to be filled with God and your enthusiasm. And that's basically where Ace of Wands is showing you too. Ace of Wands is showing that there's opportunities and there's inspiration coming from them. The Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah, don't fear the Reaper. Yeah. Transformation. Absolutely. And then your last card is the Lovers, which is the 6, and it is a major arcana also. So major arcanas are big themes in your life, and that's usually when something is really important. So you feeling that KC has a spiritual purpose, obviously spirit is saying, yes, there's a reason for that bit of connection. Now, from the Lovers, what that's showing me is that even though you have that kind of an energetic connection, I feel like there's something that holds you separate, where you're not actually, moving together or supposed to be together necessarily. It's more about, like, the energy around you and the inspiration rather than the actual physical, coming together. So, I hope that was helpful. Is that good or did you like that? Different purposes, never meant to be together at all. Correct. Yes. But inspiring. So it's more about seeing potential and helping you see potential. I am grateful. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. All righty. Okay. So I don't know about you guys, but we're approaching midnight here on the East Coast. I feel so short today. I don't know. Oh, it's because I was messing with my camera and then it's just a mess. Anyway, so if you have any suggestions for a talk topic that you want us to cover, or if you have any suggestions for a talk topic for um, in January when I'm at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival in Elkton, Maryland, let me know. That should be pretty fun. And we'll talk about it more as we get closer to. Okay. Does anybody else have a question, suggestion, thought? It's interesting because we went into a lot with gemstones. So Spirit felt like you needed one more card. Have a good night. So this card is for everybody. It's another 6. 6 is the number of beauty and art and again, inspiration, creation. So what this card depicts is someone who has it giving it to those who do not. So it's about being judicious and being being charitable and looking at people and trying to make things, I don't want to say even necessarily, trying to even the scales, trying to even the scales of justice, somebody who is trying to make sure that everyone has what they need. That's what that card is about. It's about giving, and it's about helping others. That if you have and you can, then spirit is saying that we're supposed to, that you should. And that is something that is very beneficial both vibrationally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It just makes the world a better place, is to see where you can be of service to others. But it's also about, you see how he has the scales in his hand. So it's not about driving yourself into the poorhouse. It's about helping as you can and trying to give people a hand up or a step up as opposed to a handout. There's a difference there. So, especially now we're in the Christmas season, think about who you can help. Maybe this season a little bit more than who it is you have to buy for that already has everything. How do you get somebody who has everything something else? Try to think about, is there anybody that you know who's in need? Is there somebody that you see every day that you know could use a little step up? And instead of giving that $25 or $50 to buy a toy that you know is going to sit in the box and not get used, maybe you should buy a grocery gift card for somebody, and you can give it in that person's name or something. But we really need to start looking at how we can help one another as we move forward, because as a country and as a world, we've really become way too divided, and that's not good for any of us, no matter how you look at it. So, all right, everybody. I am Geralyn St Joseph. I'm going to sign off now. I hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, merry uh, solstice, and happy 12/12/24. Have a great night. Mahalo.